You've heard thousands of quotes. You've read books, taken notes, repeated affirmations. But there is one verse that stands out not because it's greater than the rest, but because it reveals something essential. One line, short in form, infinite in force. A verse not meant for scholars alone, but for builders, warriors, creators. And this verse ignored by the world, hidden in plain sight, is the foundation of every fortune ever formed, every kingdom ever raised, every life that ever broke through mediocrity. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not as he hopes, not as he pretends, not as others see him, but as he thinks in the deepest chamber of his being, so is he. This is not poetry, it is not a metaphor. It is a blueprint. And the man who understands it does not live like the rest. He does not beg for change, he commands it. He does not chase opportunity, he attracts it. Because he has aligned the only force that matters, thought. You were never bound by your bank account. You were bound by belief. You were not limited by your environment. You were limited by the picture you repeated in the silence of your own mind. And the moment that image changes, reality obeys. This verse is the operating system behind every visible success story. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's law. You become what you allow yourself to think, not once, not occasionally, but consistently, emotionally, and with conviction. The man who thinks wealth without shame builds wealth. The man who thinks power without apology commands rooms. The man who thinks freedom walks in it even when the chains are still on. But most men, they think fear, they think doubt, they think scarcity, they think in whispers, not declarations, and the harvest of their thoughts arrives precisely on time. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Why is this the most powerful verse? Because it eliminates excuses, because it removes chance, because it places the keys back in your hand. It does not say, as a man acts, because action without belief is hollow. It does not say, as a man wishes, because wishing is passive. It says thinketh, a word rooted in intention, repetition, and identity. You cannot outwork your self-image. You cannot outperform your internal dialogue, and you cannot manifest greatness while meditating on weakness. What do you see when you close your eyes? Who are you rehearsing in your imagination? What identity have you crowned king in the courtroom of your thoughts? This verse demands your full attention. It does not ask for casual agreement. It asks for surrender, for alignment, for discipline. This is not a verse for the lazy. This is not a verse for the man who dips his toe in truth on Sundays and drowns in doubt by Monday. This is for the man who dares to build his mind like a fortress, brick by brick, verse by verse. Because the man who becomes the verse becomes unstoppable. Look around. Everything you see was once a thought. That building, that device, that business, that reputation, and the ones who shaped them, they believed first, they saw it first, they became it internally before the world ever recognized them. So I ask you, what are you thinking? What are you allowing to live in the chambers of your heart? Because that is what you are becoming right now. This verse doesn't wait. It doesn't pause. It doesn't care whether you're ready or not. It activates with every thought you permit, every image you replay, every belief you entertain in silence. And once it activates, it manifests with precision, with justice, with divine accuracy. So if you desire change, don't beg, don't plead, don't wait for external confirmation. Begin where power begins. Begin with thought. Write the vision, speak it aloud, feel it in your bones. Repeat it until it no longer feels foreign, until your mind believes it more than your memory, until your heart repeats it louder than your past. You become what you think in your heart. Let that be your anthem. Let that be your mirror. Let that be your law. This verse is not just a spiritual insight. It is an instruction manual. It tells you where to begin when all else is lost, when the account is empty, when your body is tired, when the critics are loud. Begin again in thought. The difference between those who rise and those who remain is not talent. It is not luck. It is not access. It is belief. Quiet, stubborn, unreasonable belief. And that belief is built in thought. Not in crowds, Not in applause, but in solitude, in silence. In the early morning hours when no one is watching and every part of you wants to quit, but your thought says, keep going. This is the secret that built nations, industries, and empires, that carved freedom into history and turned slaves into kings. And it is still available, still active, still calling your name. But it will not beg for your attention. It will not shout over the noise. It waits for the man who dares to go deeper than motivation. For the man who rewrites his mind like code, one thought at a time, until the entire system reflects power. You can have 1,000,000 strategies, 1,000 plans, endless tools, but if your thought is still small, your life will shrink to match it. But if your thought is mighty, unshakable faith, filled, then you will rise, because the heart does not lie. It reveals what you truly believe, and what you truly believe becomes law in your world. So declare it now, not softly, not casually, but like a man who means it. I do not become what others say I am. I become what I think I am. Say it again. My mind is my kingdom. My thought is my throne, and I will rule it with truth. Let these be the words that rewrite your script. Let this be the day your inner voice finally speaks louder than your fears. Let this be the moment when you stop reacting and start commanding. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not tomorrow, not someday, but right now. Who are you thinking yourself into today? Most people are prisoners of thoughts they did not choose. They live in cages built by other voices, other fears, other limitations. But you, if you are listening, know we're not most people. You are awakening. You are remembering that the mind was not given to store the past, but to shape the future. And that future begins with thought. Not random thought, not recycled thought, but chosen thought, aligned, repeated, empowered thought. So think on purpose. Think with fire. Think like a man who has finally taken the crown back from the crowd. Because a verse that holds a timeless key to transformation is not just a revelation, it is a revolution. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. There is a man inside you greater than the one you've been. He is not ruled by fear. He does not ask for permission. He does not shrink to fit into places that were never meant for him. He was born to rise, born to lead, born to walk in dominion. But he has been buried beneath doubt, beneath distraction, beneath repetition of thoughts that never belonged to him. If you want to meet this man, you must start where all great transformation begins, not in the world, but in the Word. And not just any word, but the word that defines identity. Your identity follows your inner thoughts. This is not a quote to be admired. It is not inspiration to be posted. It is a mirror, a verdict, a sentence. You are what you think in your heart, not what you pretend, not what you post, not what you hope. What you rehearse in silence becomes your identity, and identity is what reality obeys. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is what you consistently, obsessively, repeatedly think, especially when no one is watching, especially when the results haven't shown up yet, especially when doubt whispers louder than belief. Your bank account is a reflection of the thought you have tolerated. Your energy is a reflection of the picture you've been replaying in your mind. Your confidence or lack of itis, not genetic. It is constructed daily in the architecture of your imagination. What are you building? Most people never ask this. They build by accident. They think by reaction. They repeat what the world fed them and then wonder why their life looks like everyone else's. But if you've come this far, not most people, you are waking up to the truth. That identity is not given, it is created. That power is not inherited, it is claimed. That faith is not passive, it is a force, and it begins with thought. So if you want new results, you need new thought, not new circumstances, not new motivation, new thought. Thought with weight, thought with vision, thought backed by discipline. The verse does not say, as a man wishes. It does not say, as a man imagines occasionally. It says, as he thinketh. That is, as he practices, as he entertains, as he repeats in the secret places of his soul. So I ask you again, What thoughts have you allowed to live rent-free in your heart? Because they are shaping your reflection, not your mirror reflection, but the reflection called your results, your relationships, your self-respect. Most people try to fix the fruit without changing the root. They work on habits, routines, outcomes, never realizing those are just surface manifestations of the root system of thought. You cannot prune your way to power. You must plant new seed. You must become the farmer of your own inner field. And the first seed to plant is this: I become what I think. Let that sentence burn through the fog of your past. Let it silence every excuse. Let it confront every victim story. You do not need permission to rise. You need clarity. And clarity begins with a thought, a single sovereign thought that refuses to bend to the weight of history. History says, stay in your place. Thought says, I build new places. History says, it's too late. Thought says, I'm just getting started. History says, this is who you've always been. Thought says, who I've been is nothing compared to who I am becoming. And you are becoming something right now with each repetition, each decision, each image you allow to take root in your inner world. That's the law. The law doesn't bend for feelings. It doesn't adjust to pity. It is loyal to belief. It is faithful to structure. It rewards the one who thinks with authority, who speaks with intention, who acts with vision. So today, begin again, not in effort, not in hustle, but in thought. Speak the verse, write the vision, choose the picture, align your heart with the identity of the man you are destined to become. The thoughts you dwell on shape your destiny. This is not just the beginning of change, it is the end of confusion, the end of contradiction, the end of living like a slave to old thoughts that never served you. You are the thinker. You are the architect. You are the commander of your internal world, and your world will match whatever signal you repeat with the most emotion. So raise the signal, raise the standard, raise your inner voice until it drowns out the echoes of limitation. Let the verse guide your next thought, your next sentence, your next move. Let it build a new pattern so powerful that even doubt cannot interrupt it. Because once you become the man who thinks like truth, you become the man who walks in it. Every day you wake up, the verse is already working. It's not waiting for your permission. It's shaping your outcomes whether you're aware of it or not. So the question is not, is it active? The question is, are you using it on purpose or letting it be used against you? Do you know what happens to a man who doesn't choose his thoughts? He becomes the echo of someone else's. He becomes a shadow of culture, of media, of upbringing, of past failures. He carries a blueprint in his heart that was drafted by hands not his own and lives a life that never truly belonged to him. But the man who takes the verse seriously becomes untouchable. He doesn't just react to life, he rewrites it. He doesn't seek validation, he brings vision. He doesn't beg for doors to open. He builds new entrances with the tools of intention and thought. This is the true wealth. Not possessions, not applause, but the ability to think clearly, powerfully, deliberately, because a man who can think is a man who can rise. And no one can take that from you. No economy can cancel it. No critic can mute it. No storm can shake it. Thought is the birthplace of sovereignty. It is where kings are born before they wear a crown. So walk like your thoughts matter. Speak like your words are construction crews. Move like every gesture is watering your inner harvest, because it is. The world doesn't give identity, it reflects it. And the mirror is always waiting, not to show you what you want, but to confirm what you believe. What have you been believing? That you are unworthy? That you are behind? That you are broken? Those are not beliefs, they are infections. They are viruses planted by systems that profit from your smallness. But now you know better. Now you've seen the verse. Now you carry the code. And your job, your kalinjas, to think in alignment with truth until your world has no choice but to obey. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not lacking. You are becoming. And every thought you allow to live in your heart is casting a vote for the future you will soon walk into. Let the verse be your campaign. Let the verse be your compass. Let the verse be the last thing you think at night and the first thing you speak in the morning. As you think, so you become. There's no deeper magic, no hidden code. It was always here, and now it's yours. There's a quiet force that shapes history. It's not lightning, it's not earthquakes, it's not even revolutions. It's thought-sustained, focused, and deeply believed thought. Long before empires rise, before inventions change lives, before movements spark fires in the hearts of men, there is a single idea birthed in the unseen that refuses to be ignored. That is the origin of transformation. That is the furnace of greatness. Now understand this. Your life is no different. You are not waiting on a miracle. You are building one. Every thought, every belief, every inner conviction is laying the scaffolding of the reality you are about to occupy. So if your mind is a construction site, ask yourself, who's the architect? Is it fear, doubt, regret, or is it faith? Vision? Purpose? Because the structure will only be as strong as the blueprint. The design you carry within will determine the destiny you step into. This is not spiritual poetry. It's not philosophy. It's physics of the invisible, the law behind the law of attraction. Proverbs 23:7 didn't just suggest a truth. It revealed the lever of creation. Your dominant thoughts define your path. And let me say this, clearly, your heart doesn't lie. You can pretend with your words. You can impress with your clothes. You can smile through your suffering. But your heart, it's the vault of your truest beliefs. And it's those beliefs, not your intentions, that the world responds to. You attract what you are, not what you wish for. That's why affirmations without transformation are just noise. That's why declarations fall flat if the heart still holds on to doubt. You cannot plant weeds and expect roses. So you must ask the uncomfortable questions. What do I really believe about myself? What silent agreements have I made with mediocrity? What stories do I replay that keep me small, safe, unseen? Because here's the divine irony. The universe will always say yes to you. But if your thoughts say I'm not enough, then that yes becomes permission for lack, for limitation, for loops that lead nowhere. The prison isn't the circumstances. It's the thoughts about the circumstances. And the key isn't external, it's the verse, the ancient, powerful, undeniable verse that dares you to reclaim authorship of your identity. So write a new sentence today. Think a new thought. Speak a better future into your bloodstream. Let your nervous system adapt to the frequency of possibility, not pain. You are not too damaged to change. You are not too late to start. You are not too old to dream. You are right on time to think differently and become someone the world never saw coming. Because transformation doesn't begin in the handset, it begins in the head. Your actions are the echo of your beliefs. Your decisions are the mirror of your thoughts. And your habits? They are the long shadows cast by your dominant mindset. So, if your life feels stuck, don't yank the fruit, examine the root. The outer world is a lagging indicator of the inner world. Whatever you've been harvesting is a direct consequence of what you've been planting mentally, emotionally, spiritually. This is where most people get it wrong. They try to shift their behavior without addressing the belief behind it. They try to chase success without first evicting the inner saboteur whispering, "You don't deserve this." But thought is causation, and sustained thought is creation. You can't keep thinking thoughts of fear and expect to build a life of freedom. You can't keep nurturing bitterness and expect joy to bloom. And you certainly can't curse yourself in private and hope for blessing in public. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You are always manifesting. The only question is, are you manifesting consciously or by default? And if it's by default, then your future is just recycled pain wearing a different mask. So reclaim your power now, not later. Later is a lie. Later is where dreams go to die. All you have is now, and now is the only doorway to what's possible. You must become fierce in your mental discipline. Guard your gates, audit your thoughts, cancel the inner dialogue that doesn't serve your evolution. If it's not aligned with who you're becoming, it's a virus in your system. You weren't born to echo the opinions of a broken world. You were born to create a new one. That begins with a single decision to believe again, to hope again, to think again. Because the moment you believe differently, you behave differently. And the moment you behave differently, the world shifts subtly at first, then undeniably. Let this be the hour you look in the mirror, not to see who you've been, but to glimpse who you're becoming. Let this be the moment you remember, as you think in your heart, so are you. And as you choose to think now, so shall you rise. You've heard the verse, now live it. What would happen if you woke up tomorrow and refused to think the same thoughts? What if every time doubt knocked, you answered with purpose? What if every lie you inherited about your worth, your limits, your identity was replaced with a truth that set your soul on fire? You weren't created to merely exist, you were designed to expand. And the first battlefield is the mind. Victory here isn't loud, it's not celebrated, it's not even seen. But it is felt, it is lived. It turns timid men into kings. It turns forgotten women into forces of nature. It turns pain into poetry, confusion into clarity, and waiting into walking. You have been entrusted with the most powerful technology in the known universe, your mind. And yet, most people run outdated software, corrupted by trauma, culture, and criticism. They never upgrade the beliefs running silently in the background. They never question the inner monologue narrating their life story in defeat. But you're not most people. You are awakening. And that awakening starts with the sacred responsibility to choose your thoughts like a gardener selects seeds, deliberately, intentionally, prayerfully. If you want abundance, think with generosity. If you want strength, think with courage. If you want connection, think with compassion. And if you want heaven on earth, think with reverence for what already is. There is no magic formula, only a mental shift, a realignment of the invisible so the visible can follow. And here's the most radical truth. Even if no one believes in you, even if they mock you, abandon you, misunderstand you, your belief in yourself can still build the bridge to your promised land. Because the verse didn't say, as others think of you, so are you. It said, as you think in your heart. That's where the throne is, that's where the crown is placed, that's where the kingdom begins. So think like a ruler, dream like a prophet, act like a force the future cannot ignore. And don't just quote the verse, become it. There comes a point in every journey where the terrain gets rough, the path gets narrow, and the light gets dim. It's in that moment, the one where most give up, that your inner world is revealed. That's where the verse whispers again. What you think within, you live without. You can memorize 1,000 affirmations, read every sacred book, and attend all the conferences, but when darkness visits, only your inner beliefs will answer the door. It is not what you preach when life is good that defines you, it's what you hold on to when everything crumbles. And that holding begins with thought. Thought is not weak, it's not passive. Thought is the architecture of everything. It is the blueprint before the building, the note before the melody, the intention before the manifestation. That's why the most dangerous thing about fear is not the feeling, it's the thinking behind it. Fear often wears the mask of logic. It sounds like, be realistic. It says, play it safe. It whispers, what if you fail? But buried underneath every fearful thought is a seed of possibility waiting for a gardener with guts. You are that gardener. Every day you're planting something. And the harvest doesn't lie. If your life feels barren, it's not the weather, it's the seeds. But here's the miracle. You can replant. You can uproot beliefs passed down like family heirlooms. You can tear out the roots of shame, scarcity, and self-sabotage. And in their place, you can plant courage, creativity, and conviction. But you must guard your mental soil, because the enemy doesn't come for your bank account or your reputation first. He comes for your thoughts. He knows that if he can shape how you think, he doesn't need to touch anything else, your actions will follow. That's why this verse isn't a gentle suggestion. It's a spiritual law. Who you are is a mirror of your deepest thoughts. Not so he might be, or so he appears, but so he is, present tense, permanent, foundational. It's not what you think for 10 minutes after a motivational video. It's what you rehearse in your silence. It's what echoes through your mind when you're lying awake at 2 a.m. It's the script running while you drive, shower, eat. So let me ask you, what thoughts have permanent residency in your mind? What beliefs have been squatting in your spirit without paying rent? Who gave them keys? You have the right to evict them. But don't just evict your place. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you remove lies but don't install truth, the lies will return with reinforcements. So speak truth until it drowns out deception. Think abundance until lack becomes uncomfortable in your presence. Declare victory until failure can't find your address. Not because of wishful thinking, but because the mind responds to repetition, and repetition births reality. The truth is, no one drifts into greatness. You rise into it step by mental step. You see, life responds not to what you want, but to who you are. And who you are is built on what you believe, and what you believe is repeated in your mind every single day. You can't out-hustle a poor mindset. You can't outwork a belief that says you're not enough. Eventually, that thought will sabotage your momentum, your joy, and your destiny. So you must become a master of internal dialogue, a warrior of the invisible, a sculptor of thought. It starts the moment you wake up. Before your feet touch the ground, the battlefield begins. Your first thoughts are not neutral. They are either building you or breaking you. And the world won't wait for you to get your mind right. That's your job. That's your responsibility. You cannot afford to think like the crowd, because the crowd is addicted to survival. The crowd is seduced by distraction. The crowd trades purpose for comfort every single day. But not you. You were born to think higher, to dream bolder, to believe deeper, and that starts by breaking the cycle. You break it with declarations when doubt screams. You break it with faith when logic gives up. You break it with relentless vision when your reality is still catching up. And when you stumble and you will, don't look at the fall, look at the thought that preceded it. The fall is just a symptom. The thought was the cause. That's why renewing your mind isn't optional, it's oxygen. It's not a Sunday activity. It's an every moment discipline. As a man thinketh is not just about goals, it's about identity. Because no goal will ever survive a soul that believes it's unworthy. So start there, not with hustle, not with strategy. Start with belief. Who do you say you are? Not with your mouth, with your thoughts, with your habits, with your expectations. Because that silent conversation is writing the script of your life. Change the script, and you change everything. The truth is, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you expect. And expectation is just belief in motion. Expect defeat, and you'll subconsciously seek it. Expect miracles, and you'll start noticing doors where others only see walls. This is not fantasy. It's focus. Where focus goes, energy flows, and what you feed will grow. Feed your mind scarcity, and abundance becomes invisible. Feed your mind bitterness, and joy becomes unrecognizable. But feed your mind truth, and your life will start to bloom quietly at first, then unmistakably. And the best part? No one else has to believe it. Not yet. They'll see the fruit soon enough. So while others scroll, meditate. While others complain, declare. While others doubt, build. Because the strongest lives are built in silence, watered with intention, and revealed in storms. So the next time you find yourself discouraged, overwhelmed, tempted to quit and analyze your circumstances, examine your thoughts. They are either pulling you toward your calling or dragging you back into patterns that no longer serve you. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are simply one new thought away from breakthrough. So repeat it. Own it. Breathe it. You become what you think in your heart. And today you think like a warrior, like a visionary, like someone who refuses to bow to fear or settle for average. You think like someone who knows that destiny is not found, it's built, one thought at a time. The greatest lie you've been sold is that you are a victim of your circumstances, that where you were born, who raised you, what you've been through, those things define you. But let me tell you something that will wake you up. Those things only describe where you've been, not where you're going. If you continue to see yourself through the lens of your past, you will recycle the same results, the same relationships, the same regrets. But if you dare to see yourself through the eyes of potential, of power, of divine calling, everything shifts. You must stop negotiating with your old identity. You are not obligated to stay loyal to the version of you that survived, especially if it's keeping you from the version of you that's meant to thrive. The verse says, "Your identity follows your inner thoughts, not as he wishes, not as he pretends, but as he deeply, genuinely, repeatedly believes." So ask yourself, what do you really believe? Do you believe you're capable, or do you just hope so? Do you believe your voice matters, or do you just whisper to stay safe? Do you believe you're worthy of the life you imagine, or are you secretly waiting for permission? Because the truth is, no one is coming to hand you permission. You have to give it to yourself. You don't become extraordinary by waiting. You become extraordinary by deciding. And decision isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. It starts in silence, in the quiet conviction that says, "I will no longer live beneath my calling." It's in those moments unseen, uncelebrated, where greatness is forged. But here's the test. Life will not immediately reward you for this decision. In fact, the moment you decide to think higher, to live bolder, to break generational pattern supposition, will rise. You'll be misunderstood, laughed at, ignored. That's the price. But if you endure, if you outlast the noise, something starts to happen inside you. Confidence takes root, conviction grows louder than insecurity, and clarity becomes your compass. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, show up differently. Not because you've arrived, but because now you know where you're going. And it all began with a thought. This is where most people retreat. When the resistance shows up, they interpret it as a sign to stop, but not you. You understand resistance is the proof that you're pressing against the boundaries of who you used to be. Comfort never created anything worth remembering. Growth, transformation, and legacy. They're all born in the discomfort you once tried to avoid. You are not here to repeat. You are here to rewrite. That means breaking the mental habits that once felt like truth. Doubt isn't truth. Fear isn't fact. They're just leftovers from a life you no longer live. When your mind says, "I can't," challenge it. When it whispers you're not enough, expose it. These thoughts are echoes, not prophecies. But here's the beauty: once you master the dialogue within, no voice outside you can dominate. Your mindset becomes a fortress, your spirit unshakable, and suddenly the things that once overwhelmed you now empower you. Because now you think like a builder. You see obstacles as bricks for your foundation. Now you think like a warrior. You don't run from battle. You train your mind to lead it. And now you think like a creator. You don't wait for opportunity. You make it. This is the birth of a new life, not because the world changed, but because your thinking did. Remember, your thoughts are architects. Every belief is a blueprint, and your actions are simply the bricks. So what are you building? A prison of hesitation or a palace of purpose? It's not too late to redesign, to tear down the walls of limitation and rebuild on the rock of truth. Because the verse didn't say, "as the world treats him." It said, "as he thinketh in his heart." The power was never outside you. It was always yours. But that power must be disciplined. You cannot casually think greatness into existence. You must be relentless, precise, daily. Because the mind, left unattended, defaults to chaos. It listens to noise, follows fear, and clings to comfort. But a trained mind, it sees through distractions. It detects lies. It walks in alignment with truth. You are the gatekeeper of your thoughts. Every idea that enters must be checked. Every assumption must be examined. Every belief must earn its place. Because if you don't control your thoughts will control you. And they don't always want your success. Sometimes they want your safety more than your destiny. But what is safety if it costs your soul? What is comfort if it kills your calling? Don't just change your habits. Change your thinking behind the habits. Don't just work harder. Think higher. Your future is not a place you arrive at. It's a reality you build with each focused thought. The world will tempt you to shrink. to blend, to settle. But you were not created to blend. You were created to blaze. Blaze with vision, blaze with intention, blaze with unshakable belief. And if you ever forget that, go back to the verse. The thoughts you dwell on shape your destiny. Let it remind you that your destiny begins in your thoughts. Let it fuel you when you feel weak. Let it discipline you when you're distracted. Let it crown you when you rise above what once held you down. You don't need another sign. You don't need more time. You need a decision to take your thoughts captive, to renew your mind daily, and to think like the person you're becoming. Not someday. Now, this is the turning point. This is your invitation to live transformed. So go, think boldly, live deliberately, and never forget a verse that holds a timeless key to transformation isn't just about faith. It's about focus. It's about formation. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be from the inside out. Because true transformation is not about information, it's about revelation when truth hits your soul so deeply that you can't go back to who you were. And that's what this verse does. It doesn't just inspire, it convicts, it awakens, it demands a new standard. So let this be your new normal. Intentional thought, disciplined focus, and unwavering vision. That's the formula. That's the key. And now, you hold it.